From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Friday, May 9, 2025. The drama just keeps on coming from Canberra. National Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price has defected to the Liberal Party and wants to be deputy leader behind would-be opposition leader Angus Taylor as the recriminations and blame shifting for the coalition's loss continue. Anthony Albanese is making a brutal cabinet reshuffle. Two ministers, Mark Dreyfus and Ed Husic, are top of the hit list. And the Greens are looking for a new leader after a tearful Adam Bandt blamed Liberal and Labor for losing his seat of Melbourne and denied he'd been too vitriolic about Israel. Terrifying gangster Shotgun Johnny Regan was assassinated in a Sydney back street more than half a century ago. There have always been rumours it was the first kill by corrupt detective and murderer Rogerson, but the murder has never been solved. Today, we go inside the Australian's new cold case investigation, the Gangsters Ghost, and a family's search for answers.
Nobody will ever go at coppers, will they? I will.
This is the real voice of one of Australia's most terrifying gangsters, Shotgun Johnny Regan.
I'll give him plenty of ammunition. I got that much. That many coppers is not funny.
Regan, known as Shotgun Johnny, was murdered in a Sydney laneway in 1974. He was 29. Regan was a pimp, a rapist, a murderer and a standover man, raised in the country town of Young, abused by his mother and brutalised in one of the country's worst boys' homes. Regan believed the cops were out to get him.
This has happened in 3 of my cases, Arthur. Case I had before with a car case, they framed the Crown witness. Their own witness.
Of course, they were out to get him, but remember, this was the era of deep-seated police corruption. Like crooked detective Rogerson, who had half of Sydney's crims in his pocket and the other half under his thumb. Even Roger found Regan scary.
Lenny McPherson said to me once, Matt, he said, Roger, he said, you can control a bad man, but you can't control a madman. And I've never, ever forgotten it.
That's a great quote, isn't it?
That's Rogerson speaking to The Australian's senior writer Matthew Condon before his death in 2024. That interview is in our newest investigative podcast, The Gangsters Ghost, which launches today. It's hosted by Matt Condon. There's been speculation over the years Johnny Regan's shooting in 1974 was Rogerson's first kill, before Rogerson assassinated crook Warren Lanfranchi in 1981 and long before he murdered drug dealer Jamie Gow in 2014. All those crimes happened in Sydney's inner west, Rogerson's turf. At the scene of Regan's death, bullets from 3 separate firearms, including the same kind of .38 caliber pistol issued to police at the time, were found. But it's a cold case, and for the past 5 decades, New South Wales police haven't seemed too interested in finding Regan's killers. His family wants the truth. Cousin Kelly Slater Regan and de facto wife Margaret Yates. Here's Kelly talking to Matt Condon.
You know, you get to a certain age where you just want to talk. Like, I think she's at that age now where she probably does want to. And she sees how passionate I am about it.
Do you think she still has a residue of fear?
No, I think she's as tough as old bootstraps now.
The journo who's led this investigation, Matthew Condon, spoke to The Front's Kristen Amiot.
I'd been aware of Johnny Regan and fascinated by him for a very long time. He was one of the most notorious gangsters in Australian history, an extraordinary figure. And he was only 29, so of course his life for me was fascinating. From what I could gather, the amount of damage he wreaked in such a short period of time is mind-boggling. And I realised over time that I was shocked that there'd been so little done about him in terms of revisiting his, for want of a better term, his criminal career. It only lasted from, say, when he was 21 in 1966 to when he was gunned down in Marrickville in Sydney in September 1974. So you're looking at 8 years of building a reputation, cementing it, and then causing so much havoc that he had to be eliminated. And I thought, why hasn't anyone done a full-length book on this or a documentary? And then completely out of nowhere, Regan's second cousin, Kelly Slater, contacted me.
The family members Regan left behind all have their own motivations for participating in a podcast investigation about his life and brutal death. Of course, they want to know who killed him. But Kelly also wants to know if he really was as bad as he's been made out.
Honestly, I don't know exactly what we'll find. I know we'll find that he probably killed people. I've, accepted that fact. Will we find, did he kill that little boy? Was he a psychopath like they said? Is the stories that they tell about him true?
Why do you want to know this right now? She never physically met Regan, but she was always fascinated by him because she had been a former New South Wales police officer. And in fact, being a Regan actually caused her some grief in her early career because the logical question was, what the hell is a Regan doing in the New South Wales Police Service? So that reputation followed her like a long tail. So she wanted to understand him. Then when you speak to Regan's surviving children, they want to know more about their father. What was he really like? Was he this sort of hideous gargoyle and monster that's been depicted ever since his death in the press and in snippets in documentaries? And then you speak to Regan's de facto wife, Margaret, and she questions still to this day after 50 years who killed him, why she was left stranded after his death. His associates didn't come to help her or the family. She was left with 3 little children, suddenly facing this void in the absence of her notorious husband. So there are many different perspectives and different questions that different people are asking.
Kristen asked Matt what it was like getting to know the Regans over those past few years.
So I won't say I was trepidatious. I thought, I wonder what the Regan family is actually like. Now, when I met Kelly, she was an absolute delight. Now runs a sheep farm with her husband Rodney out near Young in southwestern New South Wales. Very down to earth, straight as a die, competent, just one of those people that if something needs to be done, Kelly can do it. And I really liked her instantly because she's just so honest and her motivations were very pure. Then I met Margaret Yates, née Regan, Regan's de facto wife, and what an absolutely wonderful woman too, so solid, honest, one of those great survivors, if you like. She's been through a hell of a lot. And coming away as the mother of 3 children of one of Australia's worst gangsters is no light burden to carry. And she's done it with great grace and she's been fantastic, as has their oldest child, Helen Regan, an extraordinary person of high achievement in her own right. It's been a remarkable journey and an unexpected pleasure to now consider these people really good friends. That's been one of the great things.
Coming up, how our team of audio experts resurrected Johnny Regan's voice using long-lost tapes. Johnny Regan spent his days wheeling and dealing over the phone and in person in King's Cross, the heart of Sydney's underworld. And he captured some of those conversations on a reel-to-reel tape recorder, which he'd rigged up to his rotary telephone.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7.
The tapes were
8,
hidden away or
9,
forgotten about following
10,
Regan's death in
11,
1974.
12.
In the late 80s, they were unearthed in the home of his auntie. Here's Regan's oldest daughter, Helen.
Anyway, Dada's got me and said, can you get up there and get me this stuff? So I brought it down. There was little tapes and there was a little tape recorder that obviously Dad had, and there was all these letter and stationery of Dad's...
On the old tapes, Regan can be heard conspiring with criminal associates like Arthur Moore to skirt convictions and exact revenge against the cops.
What'd they do, load you up? They just put the stuff in your can and said you had it. Anything they want me to do, I will bend over backwards to do it for you, Arthur. Now, I mean that.
The recordings are scratchy and muddled in places, so that's where our audio experts Jasper Leake and Leah Tsamaglu come in. Here's Jasper.
I'm always on the lookout for new software, and I came across this one earlier in the year. DX Revive, it's called, by Accentize. Think of it a bit like a pencil sketch that's only been partially completed. Imagine if you could put that drawing into a machine and it would finish the picture for you and make it look better than you could have done yourself. It would add colour and shadows and depth. This tool does that, but for old bad audio.
Leah then spent hundreds of hours restoring the tapes with the help of DX Revive.
I was astonished by the tapes. Over 2 hours of private secret conversations Regan recorded, obviously back in the 60s with rustic equipment. For what purpose? We can only guess. Was it insurance for himself? Was it leverage? And it is 1,000,000 to 1 that you will do a story about a criminal who's been dead for half a century and then actually have the opportunity to hear him speaking. That still blows my mind, the fact that we can do that. And I think too, for fans of true crime podcasts, this is a very rare thing that is available here. And I think they'll be as thrilled as I continue to be. It is just so unique.
So, can this 50-year-old mystery be solved?
It is a cold case, which means it is, in theory, a live and active murder case. I can say that the New South Wales Cold Case Homicide Unit did visit Kelly Regan and her parents just in the last fortnight to clarify what police had done and what they don't see being resolved into the future. In this sort of instance, because of the passage of time, it would be incredibly difficult to ever resolve this 1974 murder. The passage of time, unfortunately, allows conspiracies and rumours to spread. So you get this gigantic sort of mushroom cloud of falsity and made-up yarns that are impossible to delineate the truth out of. Having said that, the beauty of the podcast is that it does throw itself out into the world, and there may be, just maybe, someone out there who has a piece of information that might change the whole game, even after 5 decades.
Matthew Condon is a senior reporter with The Australian. Subscribers can listen to the first 2 episodes of our investigative podcast series, The Gangsters Ghost, right now at gangstersghost.com.au. And remember, you can access the nation's best journalism anytime at theaustralian.com.au.